You are listening to I Am Interchange.
I am interchange.
I am interchange.
I am Interchange.
Fostering curiosity, education, and empathy by exploring the controversial and the provocative.
I am interchange.
What happens when a tall drink of water, a self-motivated mom to the masses, and a passionate walking dick joke get together? Unparalleled improvisation, challenging classes, and a comic community defined by laughter. Well, that is, in any other time than the present. When Last Best Comedy founders and veteran improv artists Annie and Levin O'Connor and Molly Hannan banded together to develop a performance and training venue in early 2000, the last thing they expected was that contagious laughter would be the end of comedy. Just days before they were due to sign the lease on their new space, the country shut down in the wake of rising numbers and a pandemic that has proven to be the cruelest and most persistent of hecklers. I'm Tate Chamberlain, and in this podcast, guests Annie, Levin, and Molly discuss the artistry and introspection of improvisation, the perspective and resilience COVID-19 invites, and the untenable position of performance art around the country. How did you all earn your first dollar, Molly?
I grew up in a small town, Pullman, Washington, and they had a tiny little paper called the Pullman Herald. And they were right next to a Domino's, so I had two jobs at the same time. I went door to door trying to sell people the Pullman Herald. And then I think I was probably 12. And then I also stood outside and was a sign person for Domino's.
Really?
Yes.
What?
I mean, first dollar, I grew up in Virginia, in horse country, Virginia. And so one day we went to some horse event, me and a couple of friends, and had a cooler with drinks, and we just sold them all. And it was the first time I was look at how much fucking money we have. This is insane. Anyway, that was we have a box of cash, and we're 6 or 7 or something. We're really little. We got left kind of all day with this cooler. I don't know whose parents paid for the drinks in the first place.
Love that.
But they were oh, you'll learn about money or something. Astounded at how much money we were packing around our wet dollar bills in our pockets.
We're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
If it's legitimately the first dollar, I don't know. I think it was probably babysitting. My first job was detasseling corn. If you've ever detasseled corn before.
So Indiana.
It is so Indiana. It's straight Indiana. They round up a bunch of kids that are not of age to actually work. I was maybe 12. And then you ride a bus out to a cornfield. And then the first year I did it, you have to walk and then pull the tassels off the top of the stalks so they can be fertilized. And your arms are just dying, and you're out in the hot sun all day. And then the second year that I did it, I was part of I did such a kick-ass job. I got to ride on the machine, and then you pull from the bottom because you're above the corn. I have a deathly fear of porta potties, and I would try to hold it all day, but I really had to go to the bathroom. And I don't remember how this porta potty was set up. It wasn't a city-sanctioned porta potty.
Nothing about the child labor involved in detasseling is city sanctioned.
12 years old.
None of it is city sanctioned.
And all the kids knew that I had and there was a group of maybe 15 kids, and they all knew that I had a thing about porta potties, and they followed me to the porta potty. And so I went to the bathroom, I'm shaking and pulling up my pants. And then I go to push the door open, and it slams back in my face. And they're holding the door shut, but then other kids are on the sides, and they're pushing it. It's rocking. So now it's moving. And the porta potty wasn't a deep in the ground potty.
No.
Because this is a...
They just set them there. They don't go into the ground.
It just sets there. So the shit was right there. So when it went like this, it started sloshing out of the thing all over my legs. And then I had to go bathe in the irrigation ditch. And then I sat on the bus the rest of the day, and it scarred me for life.
Oh.
It sounds pretty
That's
scarring.
a for-life scar, you guys.
She still gets a brow sweat whenever we're out, and definitely the only option is a porta potty, and there's mounting anxiety.
Yeah.
That is so cruel.
It was so cruel.
What awful kids.
12-year-olds.
Molly, where did we meet?
I think the first time we met was when you were going to do the fire I Am Interchange. Wasn't that it?
the should wildfires be managed?
Yes.
So you did Bozeman Improverts, and then The Verge kind of, you guys came into town and crashed the party. What happened with?
Well, we came into town from LA and we're looking to, improv is our background and our passion and all of that. And we're basically trying out living in Bozeman. And part of that equation was whether there was a comedy community here, more specifically an improv community here, how that felt, and whether it seemed viable for us to open some sort of comedy dedicated venue in town. So that's what that year looked like. And the improv in Bozeman is the Bozeman Improverts. And so with,
It is the improv.
They had
They're
brought in
wonderful.
Dave Rosowski, and then Dave Rosowski is a friend of ours from LA and a big time improviser. And he had texted us saying he was in town and he was going to do this class showcase. And could we come hang out? And I was like, yeah, I'll come see it.
So Dave was in Bozeman and he invited you to come out and check it out.
Yeah, he mostly said, come, let's hang out. There was no come check out what they're doing. It was just like, come.
I'm in town.
I'm in town, let's hang out.
Come be.
Be
be
my
in town
friend.
with
We're
me.
friends. Let's be friends.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Let's have a drink and be pals. And so I went, and then I saw their class show, and it was like, hey, there's people here, and they know how to do stuff, and it's all okay because I was previously pretty depressed and sad, and so that was really great.
What was like the signal that you wanted to come to Bozeman and give it a shot?
I mean, we had been we had children, and that changed living. We have children.
We
but
were in LA for like 15 years, and we were working there and doing comedy there, and we ran our own theater. We ran other people's theaters. We taught at a variety of theaters, and it was great, and we loved it. And then we had kids, and it was like, we can't do it. So we moved right outside of LA to Malibu, baby. And it was a nightmare.
It was not a nightmare. What a nightmare. We lived in Malibu.
Oh, God.
I mean, it's
we had
probably
it so
awesome in the
rough.
movies, but horrible in real life.
I mean, it's super beautiful.
It's
not
gorgeous.
like a place you
Gorgeous.
live for what a community of people who take care of each other.
Yeah,
They
no.
just, everyone who moves to Malibu are like our neighbors at the time. They move there because they want to be left alone. They're like, look, we work in Los Angeles, or we have worked in Los Angeles, and now we are making a physical decision to have people leave us alone. So we're over here and you guys be over there. And so that we're community people.
So you took it a step further and moved to Montana.
So
Yep.
that was our halfway out was worse.
It felt like
We can see.
it's like we
our
graduated
ex.
high school, but we didn't leave the town where our high school was, and we kind of were still hanging around the high school. But we couldn't participate in high school anymore because we had kids now.
And you're the creepy old people.
And
who
we're the
come
creepy
back.
old people. And I didn't feel like that. We were doing great. We were running this theater, and it was great. But we really wanted to make a change for our kids. And we knew people who lived in Bozeman, and we had visited Bozeman a bunch. So we were like, well, let's go move to Montana for a year. We've been there so many times. We love Montana.
It will clarify. They're like, well, it'll either feel like, yes, that's great, that's what we needed, or no, we should definitely go back, and now we will no longer be living every day with that scratch in the back of our heads of is this where we really want to be? So we were just trying to follow that journey enough to make a decision in a satisfying way, and we were able to do that.
Do you still live with that? Are we still in the right space?
Not really.
You don't second guess being in Bozeman?
Oh, no. I mean, that first year I did, I was really like, I just get the fuck out of here. It's the worst. But then, we met Molly and some other people.
In that whole community.
That community, and then that made it feel like home, and then now it feels like home. We met Molly, and we had a community, and it felt good, and Molly wanted to work with us and, launch Last Best Comedy, so it was like, well, we found our person. This seems great, because we can't do it on our own. That was the thing we had said when we ran our theater by ourselves, which was called Now Improv. We couldn't do it on our own because we're not a full person, because one of us always has to be with the kids, sort of thing. So we needed at least one other person. And now we have Molly and other people all working together, and now it feels like home.
I took The Verge's improv, and then your improv. I love that there's a little bit of variety now. Like you said, the only improv in town was the Bozeman Improvers.
Yeah.
Yeah, improv is not that way where like, oh, they do improv, and if we come to town, then we take improv away. That's fundamentally counter to the nature of the art form, which is so collaborative and so support-based that like, oh, you do improv and we do improv. Let's do improv. Let's make improv get bigger rather than feel like we have to possess this tiny little grain of it. But instead, let's allow it. And comedy in general, stand up too. Like, how do we let it grow larger in Bozeman? How do we give it more space and more opportunity rather than how do we squabble over this one small crumb of it?
Yeah, there is kind of that step. There's such a limited scene. There was a limited scene in Bozeman, even in the music scene. And there's like the only person in town. And if one person comes along and adds to that, there's kind of that
Fear?
It's like a little hill you got to get over.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fear. There is a fear of like, you're going to come take our shit. And we've worked to do this thing. And like, now you're coming and telling us that you're doing it too. But like Levin's saying, the idea is not the more the merrier, but like diversity and variety creates stronger everything for everybody. It's better to have 2 programs. It's better to have 3 programs. It's better to have 4 programs because you have so many different takes on it, and because people are so individual. Everyone's an individual, so they will come to it in different ways and get different things out of it. You need that variety.
Yeah. No, I like that. So when you describe each other to strangers, how do you do it?
You mean when I describe Molly or Levin or just Levin because he's my husband?
We describe each other. Describe each other.
Oh my God.
Annie is pretty easy. She's just
fucking gorgeous.
Like a beautiful walking dick joke all the time.
It's true. It's so true.
A beautiful
Dick or
walking
period
dick
joke. Period too.
Yeah.
And period. Oh, thank you. I got to keep it. I got to keep all genders.
And if we like, there's more room to write than like also a great mom and some other things, but like mostly. Mostly that.
Walking dick joke.
No, a beautiful walking
beautiful
dick joke.
walking dick joke, and in small parentheses, a good mom.
Great mom, great wife, great daughter, cool person, all that stuff.
All right.
But don't lose sight of what she is.
That's going to be on our headstone.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that that's spot on, but it is. And I want it to be something more, like, what a philanthropist.
Come on now.
I can barely say that word.
I don't think you want to walk around in that skin all the time.
What
Being a
filler.
philanthropist.
Damn it, I shouldn't have tried it again. Oh, man. Okay. Yep. Molly, is that how you would describe me?
Sure. I thought this was just a couple situation. I'm just
This
observing.
is a full thruple.
This is a thruple.
This is the thruple.
We get to describe you too.
Oh my gosh. This is no good.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that is you're extremely passionate about pretty much everything that, good and bad, right? Like, which I love so much.
This is a nightmare.
It's not a nightmare. I truly, I think I've said that to your face. When you get like in those moods, you're like, am I just too much? I'm like, no, it's like, it's great. You're passionate. It's really fun to be around.
I like that you label me as passionate over too much, which is what I like to label myself as. I'm just too much.
So let's qualify the earlier statement. She's a beautiful, passionate, walking dick joke.
I'll allow it.
How would we describe Levin? Let's go, Levin.
Oh, it's easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Don't describe yourself.
I'm so ready.
I mean, he's legitimately, I think, a tall drink of water.
That was what came to mind for me as well.
And I mean that, like, you're refreshing and... I know, for
Necessary to live.
Necessary to live. Yeah, all these things are true for me. That's true for me. I mean, there's the tall drink of water in the way of, like, you're very sexy, and I think that's true. But also, you're tall. And also, a drink of water. Because you're a very calm and centered, you're just like a rock. You are a rock of a person. Everyone says you're so serious. Even our kids say that you're serious all the time. But I know that you're not serious. Like, you're like the least serious person I know. Like, you love to fuck around. You are always joking around. You joke around to the point where I get mad at you.
That's true.
I used to yawn and he would stick his fingers in my mouth while I was yawning.
Just like I like.
and it made me so
With the sound effect?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Or just like,
and I'd just be tired and I'd yawn and then suddenly I'm like, ah,
it's a horrible thing to do to someone.
fucking horrible.
But in my defense, it's so
It's so
so
funny.
wonderful to see someone light up when they're so surprised that it's
What an
really
interesting description, lighting up.
yeah, but this is how he describes teasing me during the day. Or
Oh, you mean like lighting up to being on fire?
it's like an authentic window into someone totally unguarded when they're just like absolutely startled, and you shouldn't have done that, but it's so pretty to see. That it's hard not to do it, but I don't do it. I haven't done it in a long time. I just pretend like I'm going to now, and that gets almost the same response.
Just to clarify, you two are married.
Yes.
We are married, but I would say tall drink of water. Everyone thinks you're serious, but it's just because you have kind of a stoic quality, but really you joke around more than anybody that I know, and it's just fucking delightful how much of a joke around you are.
I was going to say tall drink of water, but I didn't want to say tall because I don't feel like that's what defines you.
Well, it's a part of it.
It's a part, but I think I can kind of always count on your, like what you're saying, like this calm and anchoring that like kind of balances out maybe our
Feminine qualities.
Feminine, I call myself a little manic. So I would say that like, that's what I feel like. And so I'm always surprised. Like whenever we're in these meetings, I feel like Annie and I need to console each other. And then I just totally forget about you because I'm just like, oh, you're fine. You're fine. You seem like you're fine. But like, I also think you feel so deeply, which is such a wonderful quality too. And it's easy to not see that because you are such a good, calming, balancing force.
And you're a good dad.
Good one.
You're a good dad.
Thanks.
Good dad.
So anyways,
Also, all right.
Yeah.
that's all I know about.
Thank you.
Molly.
God,
Thank
don't
you
do
both. That was
me.
wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
That was wonderful. You're quite a guy.
I'd say Molly. Molly, you are a good mom. In the forefront, and I don't mean to your children.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Like your mom to
like-
you. Who? To you?
To everybody.
Everything that she's involved in.
Everything you're involved in.
You're the mom.
You're the mom.
I'm a mom.
She takes care of everything that she's involved in.
Absolutely. That's the thing about you is like you take care of everybody that you're involved in, everything that you're involved in. You're at the center of like the organization of it, people's feelings, making sure that everyone's got their birthday presents, that they're getting taken out for a drink, that they're getting a hug when they need a hug, that I need a walk. You're there. You're going to go on a walk with me. And we're getting check-in phone calls and texts. And when it's an improv show, you're making sure everyone's backstage, that they're warmed up, that we're ready to get on stage. And it's not in a like barking sort of way, it's in a, I'm going to care for everybody and I'm going to care about everything that we're doing together. And even when you're upset or whatever, like you're going to push through and make sure that the group or the whole or the project or the person is taken care of before of you. And that's what makes a good mom, is someone who's always putting other people ahead of themselves. And you do that for everybody in your life. So you are a good mom. Exclamation point. There's no parentheses.
Oh, thank you so
You're a
much.
good mom.
That's-
I don't know how you are with your kids. No,
Yeah,
I'm joking.
No, I'm the worst.
Worst. Hate these kids.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think part of the inner working of that is that you're so passionate and self-starting, motivated. The obvious example for me is that like improv is a growing thing in the world, but you got fascinated with improv here without a lot of people and no pre-existing real community of it, and just, I love this thing and I can figure out how to make it happen and learn how to do it and grow it, and really well. All of those things, not in a like, not in any judgment, but we've always been amazed at like, we came to Bozeman and there are these improvisers, and how did they get to be such good improvisers? Like, I know the people who poured the things that they had learned into my brain, but you just had to do it for yourself. And that's incredible. So that aspect of you is one of the ingredients that has to be in there too.
Why improv? Why do you all
man.
instinctively? Why did you
How much time you
instinctively
got left?
flock to improv? And how did you, without what seems to be from nothing,
Without the bigger
from thin
community,
air?
definitely wasn't from nothing. Like we had a teacher here in Bozeman that came, Christian McDaniel, who came from the Detroit Second City. So he kind of inspired all of us. I think we took a class. I took a class just based on a whim. I had promised myself I would do something for myself after my son turned 3. And I had always wanted to take one, never did, took it. And then he just kind of fostered a really good group of people. And I think we got extremely lucky. And that's really what kept me motivated, was just having fun with a really diverse, interesting, wonderful group of people that I never would have been exposed to, ever met. You know, our lives can be so narrow, and especially now, right? We have these bubbles of people that we interact with, and it just, I don't know, it just helped expand my life and the people in it and the collaboration. I don't know. I think that's what it was. It was the people that kept me coming back, and I just didn't ever want it to go away. And it's addictive, you know, the performance aspect too. When I was teaching at Verge, you know, like, it's not maybe the best thing to focus on the showcase, but I would really work hard to make sure that the class had such an incredible showcase, because I feel like that's what really put the nail in it for me, was that very first showcase we did after my first class. It was just better than anything.
So Christian came and did this class, and you became close to your cohort.
Yes.
And you all stuck together and kind of developed this
Yeah.
friendship and momentum with it.
Yeah.
And that continued into what's kind of now the Verge, and inspiring the showcase to kind of finish it off, that really inspired you to keep going.
Yes. What a good summary. I think I was just having so much fun playing with my friends, and I just wanted to. And at Verge at the time, nobody was really running the program. Christian ended up leaving, and he kind of left a group of people that were still so passionate about doing it, that we just kind of took up the reins and tried to spread it out, you know, and to grow the community, continue to teach classes. And a lot of people that we taught in those early days, you know, are still a part of our community. Emmy, I think, was in one of my first classes. Kyle was in one of my first classes. So
Shout out to Emmy and Kyle.
Emmy Harvey and Kyle Sorensen. So yeah, I think that's absolutely good.
Just plugging
Good.
people, making
Plug
sure we're
them.
getting
We've got a list of people we've got to plug, but casually, we don't want to
Sure.
make it obvious.
Don't make it
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, that is correct.
The answer for why it sustains so well for me anyway is that it's just like, it's such a worthy pursuit. There isn't really there's no outcome to it. No one gets rich improvising well. So you're never distracted by like some other want from it. If you want something more from the art form than it actually has to offer you, you get frustrated with improv
You just
and leave
burn
it.
out.
Because you're like, why am I not getting famous from this? Or why am I not getting, why is it not more about me? It's just not that thing. Instead, it's just an incredible, endless self-study that you are like up against yourself every time you try and improvise. The things that make you uncomfortable, the things that make you avoidant or averse or whatever it is, the things that excite you, all of that stuff is always there for you. I've never had any sensation of like, now I get it. Now I get how to improvise. I got it. Because then it'd be boring.
So if you had expectation, it would not be sustainable for you.
Yeah, I mean, we've taught a lot of students, and we taught a lot in Los Angeles specifically. So you always have a percentage of students who are taking this class because their agent or somebody said they needed to have it, or they have the illusion that if I perform at this theater, it's where these famous people used to perform.
I'm made.
If I shine in my class enough, I'm sure that's how you get there.
And
guess
I'll be
what?
the next Mike Myers or whatever.
Ooh,
And
Mike
guess what?
Myers.
Mike Myers.
Really
Well,
pulling out-
we had his picture was in the lobby of the theater we used to work at.
That's not how that works at all.
It reminds me of, there's a saying in Zen. It says, I would offer you something, except I have nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing to offer.
There's nothing to offer here. I don't have anything for you.
Other than whatever you bring
Yeah.
to it,
Yeah.
and then that one's bottomless. It's great and suits me just right.
I like how you made the distinction of how you keep it in your life without burning out of it. It's like a practice.
Yeah,
It's
that's
absolutely a
what it
practice.
is.
It is a practice, which is why you can equate it to yoga or meditation or archery. I equate it to archery in my classes and when I'm doing archery.
You did, yeah.
It's the same. I mean, I've been through just a huge journey with improv. I started in college in the late 90s. At first, it was a way for me to be able to I'm a very silly person, and it was a way for me to be silly with a bunch of people and to not be the idiot or the clown, or do you know what I mean? My friends up until the moment of finding improv were always like, oh, Annie, she's such a fucking idiot. Like,
They didn't know how to label you as what you
Yeah.
were an expert at.
And I'm thinking of the words they used for me, and they're not culturally appropriate, or they're not appropriate phrases anymore, so I don't want to say them. But, like, I'm an idiot, I'm a clown, I was class clown, things like that. Yeah, people would laugh at me, but rarely with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that people weren't laughing with me, or I wasn't making people laugh. I was like kind of out to sea, and then I'd have to curb a lot of that back for a lot of my friends growing up, even when I was like young, because if I did it too much or like I was too goofy, then like, what an asshat she's being. You know what I mean? Like,
Was it like a personal exploration for you, or was it to entertain others?
in the beginning, I don't know what the fuck it was. I just my friend was going to auditions on our campus for Absolunacy. Check that one off as the call out. Thank you. Absolunacy, Ball State's premier improv group in 1997. He wanted to go. I had seen them perform and I thought they were amazing. And I loved Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I couldn't do that. And it was a huge audition. There was 300 people there. And I got onto the team, me and this other guy. There's two of us selected. And my friend did not get on. He was really mad, and he squirted saline solution in my eyes, you guys. That's how mad he was at me.
Friends with a lot of bullies.
I was. What the fuck was wrong with that guy? True story.
He did it out of spite?
Yeah, he was really mad at me. I mean, he was really fucked up. It was weird. Then later
It's
in
a
life,
weird temper tantrum choice.
and he left Ball State shortly after. And then years later, at IO West, where we used to perform and teach in LA, he ended up walking through the door one day and was shocked to see me and wanting to get into improv. And I was teaching there at the time, and I was.
Did you teach him?
No, I didn't teach him.
Did you say no?
No. I think he took classes. He was trying to do his own thing. What if he's listening? He'll know I'm talking about him. Never mind. Don't cross his name off the list.
You always told me he was just unteachable.
Oh, no. I didn't say that.
You didn't say
There's
that.
no such thing.
This was just that moment. Anyways, so when I joined Absolunacy, it was kind of like I kind of fell into it, and then I was finally in a group of people where I felt comfortable joking around, but I still didn't feel comfortable in my skin. Do you know what I mean? I still wasn't me.
Because it was still kind of new to you and you didn't know what it was yet?
Yeah, I was scared, and I felt like everyone was so talented, and I'm sure I had my own talents, but they were also, garbled in what I should be versus what I am, and am I going to be accepted for who I am, or do I have to be like these people? You know what I mean? And that's a college thing too. So then after college, I did more, and I, was in a kids touring company, and I did long form, I did short form, and then eventually I came to LA and started doing long form there. And it slowly morphed. But, because improv is a life journey, and there are these ebbs and flows and ups and downs, your pursuit of improv changes with who you are as a person, or how you define yourself, or what your goals are. It just moves. The whole thing kind of rolled for me. So as things started changing in my life and bigger things happened, I became more open to things on stage and more accessible to them in a way that I previously would have been I got a dick joke for that, And in the beginning, I was a lot of huge characters smoking cigars and playing big eagles that would eat eggs. I don't know, just not that I wouldn't do that now, because I definitely play an eagle that eats an egg, but
But it would have so much more heart now.
I had here's the
backstory.
thing. In the beginning, it was all about putting on a show and being big and what do you want to see? What's gonna be funny to you? Bing, bing, bing. And then I had a teacher tell me that and I've said this story to lots of people. These guys know.
Jason Pardo, shout out to Jason
Pardo, shout out. He said that I was a keg party on stage, but I never threw a dinner party on stage. I never was sophisticated, and I never was subtle, and I never acted. And I was always somebody else. I was never close to myself. And I was like, the fuck? And I went in my car and I cried.
Aww.
And I was panicking. So then I spent the next 2 classes, especially those 2 classes, I was I will not play any characters that are far away from me. Everything will be more Annie. And it was impossible. It was the worst time I've ever had. was trying to be comfortable being actually myself on stage as opposed to being a character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I took your character class.
Yeah, I got through it.
Yeah. How do you
I can do both things now.
How do you find yourself in improv when you take on all these different characters? It seems like you found yourself and you didn't like it, and so you went back out again after you got that.
Oh no, I
want
didn't.
to hear it from all of you.
I didn't find myself. That was an invitation to become more comfortable being myself. So like all this process of coming up through doing improv to like put on a show, to like feel okay being funny, all that stuff was still a show.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Keg party.
It's keg party. And then after that, I slowly started realizing that I needed to be able to be myself too on stage and to be able to do both those things. And it took me a long time to play characters that were soft or subtle or real or didn't need a laugh. And that was a huge thing, to play a character that wasn't intended to make someone laugh, but instead play a character that was intended to be emotional or to move someone. And then that helped me be more of that thing in my life too, of like, I'm not always putting on a show. I can feel my emotions. I can be...
It sounds like you embodied it a little bit more after you could label it.
I became more comfortable being myself using improv. And I think that's why I love improv, is because it is a practice field for being able to be more of who you actually are. So you have this idea of yourself, but then and then you get to go to improv, which is the practicing of being yourself. And slowly you can be more of your thing. You can be more of who you are.
The thing you're saying is so true. One of the things that is neat about it is that it is like this two opposite things happening simultaneously, that you need to be your calmest, most open, grounded self in an environment that is exactly the opposite of where that would ever occur. That like you're being thrust into what is to almost everyone a terrifying situation. On stage, lights, audience, expectation that it's funny, no script, and that does what it does to everyone, which is like you tighten up, you throw whatever you can at the problem, and then you realize that like, oh, but the things that you're learning in class are just like listen and support and take care of each other and trust. So those aren't what you naturally default to in a house fire. You don't like, we just need to listen here for a minute, we'll figure out where to go. But that's what that practice is. You're getting tangible hours of repetitive practice in a like really pressured environment. And with time, calm can set in so that you can be you there and then make choices from being you. It doesn't mean you only play you in a scene. It's just that you can choose that it would be fun to be
an eagle eating eggs. Or a compassionate, realistic portrayal of an abused woman.
House is on fire. Your best advice is to just stop and breathe.
I don't run.
Your metaphor of house is on fire is being in front of a group of people.
Not literally.
With improv for the first time.
Yes.
That's the metaphor.
And not even the first time. I think that it takes years and years of practice to not feel that you immediately walk out on stage and just do the shit you do to survive. Like, I don't know, here's a bunch of shit. And then slowly you start to be like, no. I call them defaults. I don't know if you remember from our class, but I call them defaults, where like, this is the default knee-jerk reaction of I would do this. But then as you get more calm, you can stop yourself from that knee-jerk and make a choice, actually, as opposed to just doing what you always do. But that's the same thing in life, too. And it's the reason that, like, people tell you, and I can't think of what people, you guys, but like drive home in a different way. What you know what I'm talking about here?
I think I told you that story.
You told me this story.
So I went to Kenyon College, and their swimming program they're Division III, but when I was there, the men's team had won like 23 consecutive national championships, and the women's team had won 19 or something. Just like unthinkable records that in any division of anything no one ever does. And so their head coach, who was the coach of both teams, was always like, people are always like, what are you doing? How is this possible? And he's like, I don't think about any of that stuff. In fact, the example he gave was that like, I often drive my wife crazy because I don't want to drive home from the pool the same way ever. So I don't approach next season trying to replicate what we did last season. I just am like, well, I want to find a different way to get there. And so long as you continue to want to do that, you don't get consumed with the weight of what you have done or the pressure of any of that stuff, but instead you're just in it for the, like, I wonder if I could get home if I start that way. And it's always sort of stuck as an idea.
I like what you were saying, Annie. I don't want you to feel self-conscious about what you were saying. I think what you put into words is a lot of what I have always felt about improv and why it's so emotional. Like, it's so wonderful on so many levels, but there's been probably some of the worst nights or evenings of my life have been like after an improv rehearsal or after an improv show.
Just crying.
Where you just...
stressed.
Yes. Or just I don't know, you're just at such a vulnerable place and you are kind of like confronted with so many of these, your own issues and, you know, like having to like overcome them. And it seems like such a simple... such a simple thing, but it's, in theory it is, but I think we're all just kind of taught to suppress all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you're supposed to like access that and do it on stage in front of a lot of people. And so, and the honesty and what I have always really appreciated about your guys' teaching style and what I really liked about David Rosowski's teaching style was this idea that we're not creating stuff. We're building stuff off of what is actually here, like, and the emotion that you have in, you know, whatever you're feeling, whatever positions people are taking on the stage, it's there. Shape, all the viewpoints, etc. But, you know, the idea that, and with the teaching analogy, you know, he's not thinking back at last season, like what he did and why did that work. He's just dealing with or the way that I was thinking about it was, you're just dealing with what you have in front of you in this moment and making choices moving forward. And
trying to surprise yourself.
And
trying
enjoying
to surprise yourself.
them.
Yeah, and enjoying that process. And you guys once said something. So, I mean, as the improvers, obviously, we were improvising for so long on our own, and we didn't have a lot of coaches. We had brought David Rosowski in to do some stuff, but we never had like anybody coaching us. And I'm a judgmental person by nature.
That was one of the things I was going to say.
Yes, I thought.
Great mom.
I can't believe
super judgmental.
Super judgy. When somebody would jump onto stage, another improviser would jump onto stage, we would like instantly have this moment of judgment when they came on stage. And I remember you saying that, and for me, it really resonated. This
like
idea,
a new improviser that it wasn't quite in your community yet.
Yeah, no, just somebody we've been improvising with forever, but we're in a scene and we're having a great scene, and then somebody jumps on stage, and then we, like, the two people in the scene, there's this beat, and we're like, oh, here comes this person. What's going to happen? And then you guys said it shouldn't be that way. It should be like, yes, this person is here. What is going to happen? Like this excitement of,
what are they going to do?
what's going to happen?
Cool.
Like,
Cool.
Yes.
This person came on.
Rather than this, like, we were doing so great. And
now here
like,
they come
here
with
we
their
come.
fucking bullshit.
They're totally going to mess it up. They don't get this.
Yes. I mean, it's such I don't speak about improv as eloquently as you guys do, but I do love that idea of surprising, accepting what is there, and then, yes, enjoying it and being surprised.
To be excited by the process of finding something new. Like, what could I like new about this now?
Yeah.
The goal is not like, oh, well, I think I found the fastest way home from the pool. Let's just knock it out.
Hit it every time.
Like
Don't think.
That
same way.
Personality exists. It's a thing.
It coexists.
But I really love the wandery one. That like, well, sure, I know that's probably the shortest, fastest way to get there. Are there other ones? And what do they look like? And what would you see if you took them?
Right.
And there's the state, you know, like I always talk about the state of curiosity, like being a good improviser. And even like so much to say is like being like a continuing to grow person is someone that is craving that, like that has curiosity, you know, like that I'm curious about. I can be curious about anything moving forward. You know what I mean? And as an improviser, like, what else? Well, what else? Well, what else? Well, what are you going to do? And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And every time I see these people, they could bring something new because their lives are informing things about them, right? So even though I've improvised with Levin or with Molly, when we step onto stage together, because they're always growing and changing, their energy and their essence is always slightly different, even if if I don't think about it, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's Levin. But we have experiences every time we're not on stage, and that informs who we are. So when you step back onto stage, you're a slightly different person than the last time you were on stage. And can you key into the curiosity of being interested in everyone's uniqueness and everyone's journey? And in that way, you can constantly be surprised by people, and that can be really exciting.
There's nobody I've done more hours of scene work with than Annie.
Hey,
And
I'm talking.
the thing that is wonderful, the reason that when we do our show, it's my favorite, is that like, because that trust is at a level beyond any other person I can do a scene with, it at least affords me the opportunity to dig deeper down into things that I haven't gotten to yet. You know, like there's always other material. There's always other aspects of who you are, or memories that might bubble up, or thoughts or characters or whatever, but you might not get to them unless your trust allows you to be in a place where you can get there. And that's why that show is never like a boring one to me over all this time, that like just the two of you on stage and you've done all these shows. Surely it's repetitive in some capacity, and it never feels that way because it's the one with the most opportunity for surprise.
Yeah. It did get you a dick joke nickname though.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just me as a person. That's not me in that
That's
show.
not just an
That's-
improviser.
All right.
Do you like how we've just talked about this one subject
know.
and
Do you
it hasn't?
wanna
It's
ask
been
other
so
questions?
serious.
I know.
Well,
Like, oh man,
we're all cooped up.
Hey, we're all cooped up.
Improv.
We're all cooped up for.
I know, but
this
when I
reason.
talk about improv, it's always like, okay, this is a funny thing, but let's get fucking serious.
I kind of want to get serious right now. One of the last classes I took from you at Last Best Comedy was last winter, and then 2020 hit, March hit, pandemic. In a life of thriving in uncertainty, how do you relate to that right now? Tell me about what you're experiencing as a venue.
Well, I think in general, comedy is currently in a coma, and some of the great comedy theaters.
Certainly live comedy.
Live comedy is in a coma, and live theater is in a coma. And a lot of these comatose theaters, they're silently dying, big ones all over the country. And, knowing a lot of people who run these theaters, and also seeing like the great institutions that I have grown up with as a comedian and improviser, like they're gone now, feels so crazy to me. And a lot of them have died. Like a lot of the big ones have gone. The little ones are fighting to survive in their comas. And you had said the other day, Levin, that all these like theaters are like, their ships are on fire and they're trying to swim back to shore. And we're waiting on the dock, being like, I can't wait to get out onto that water, even though they're all drowning out there.
You can't wait, like, get on the water as a venue?
Yeah.
Because you were about to launch a venue literally in March, I think.
Yeah, 2 days post, our lease was set to begin, I think, 48 hours.
Well, we were set to sign it.
Yeah.
Set to sign it like 48 hours after they shut it all down.
Yeah, we're still on that shore, and we're still, even though everyone else is drowning, we still are. We're excited to get out onto that water, but we can't go anywhere now, right, Molly?
No, it was, I think it's funny that you asked that question after we had just kind of talked about this idea of being surprised and enjoying the surprise of that, right?
Right.
I like that
I
too.
don't fucking enjoy the
This
surprise.
hasn't been a super enjoyable experience. I think, and I think we're not the only ones, obviously, just like the little theaters, improv theaters and comedy theaters, but also live theater and, Broadway and like anybody that does, musicians too, right? All these music venues, like people that it really feeds their soul to do this kind of like art. And we just spent, half an hour talking about how much we love improv, why it's important to us. And then to kind of have that just like taken away, and then also told who knows when it will ever get back to normal, that we can be together and doing it at the capacity that we really want to be doing it. So, it's been a grieving process, honestly.
Yeah, there's been a lot of grief. I've had a lot of like crisis of faith this summer.
Also, a lot of anger.
Yeah.
So
like,
mad.
This stupid piece of fabric over my mouth drives me, like it's really personal to walk around and see people not be able to be bothered to do it. Because it's the least I could ask that we could get to do our vocation at all. That like we are passionate about comedy and improv, but also it's our whole livelihood. It's a dedication of my whole adult life has been in pursuit of being able to perform this thing and teach this thing and spread it and let it do the good that it does in the world. And it's gone. Like there isn't anybody anywhere getting to do it getting to do it in its natural environment, which is close together, close proximity, people gathered and laughing next to each other, is just gone, and it'll be the last possible thing that gets to return. So the longer we can't be bothered to take care of each other, the longer we have to wait before we're allowed to do the thing that we love the most. That's a really personal one, to not let anger just like
When
eat
you see
up.
someone without a mask
Or-
elongating this
Or you
weight
hear
coma.
anytime anyone is like, this is not a political thing for me. This is just, there's this virus that exists. And as a result, I'm not allowed to do my job indefinitely. And everyone that I know who also works in that field or anything related to it has no prospects. And that's a whole industry of humans that are sunk because we can't be bothered to address the thing and handle it in an adult way. And that's crushing.
I think the statistic is 90% of independent music venues are
Wow.
expected to go out of business.
Yeah. I'm sure comedy and theaters are similar. I mean, unless you have like endless resources, those things are just gonna go. So, I think for Last Best Comedy, we're trying to remain patient. We're trying to remain patient because we didn't end up signing that lease. And so we still have like our seed money, and we still have this community that does want to do things. And so we're trying to be out there a little bit as much as we can. And we're just waiting. We're waiting for a time when laughter isn't contagious. And it's back to its old meaning of laughter being contagious, which is like the fun way and not the like
Contagious in a fun way.
contagious in a fun way, not in the way where I would kill you or your
Not
family.
in the way that I've just killed your grandparents.
Ha ha.
And it's not like people are like, oh, I'm going to catch the concert tour next year. All these venues have employees that will have moved on by then, and the production staffs and the booking agents.
Yeah.
all of
I mean,
all
the
of that.
move, I think that's
Infrastructure is like, you can't have touring comics if all the venues go away.
Yeah.
And so a part of our model is to be one of the stepping stones that a comic can stop here for a night on their way across the country and share their point of view and their comedy with this community. If all those stones are gone,
How would you reinvent it? I mean, is it good how it was, or would you have changed anything?
throw this water in my face.
I feel like
What do you mean,
I feel
like-
like the music industry and entertainment was just like bam, bam, bam. I've got to be doing something all the time, and it created this cataclysm of everything happening, and people stopped pausing to appreciate and slow down. Is this a good lesson in not being that way? I guess in the music industry, I would say it got kind of shallow. Events needed a good lesson in how thoughtful they were. Like festivals have kind of grown along that line
Sure.
recently, but there's still a lot of just like, I'm just going to do it to do it. And
Right.
I don't care if
Right.
it's not meaningful to anyone.
I don't know if this is the right, this is maybe an answer or maybe it doesn't answer it at all. But the thing that I thought was that like one of the things that is unique about improv communities is that they are so community based. And so you're really, our Last Best is really about building up who's here in Bozeman much more than it is about being a big venue that is bringing Dane Cook or somebody through town. A continued investment in your own community is going to be more viable going forward anyway. And that's what improv theaters have always kind of been that way. If you want to look at it cynically, that they're like the training centers funding, like the only people watching the shows are the students, and like you can view it that way. But really what it's about is that you're creating a group of people who become interested in this thing and they support it and watch it. And as that grows, the community of Bozeman is what holds that together and keeps it viable and safe.
It sounds like one of the core rules of improv is just slowing down and being present. And you're taking that in a larger step with being present with your really uncomfortable uncertainty with the community at large, just kind of being with them.
To answer your kind of bigger question, I don't think that it needs to be reinvented necessarily. I think one of the most tragic things is, and the thing that we'll have to work really hard at once things kind of stabilize, is a performance place. I mean, nothing can replace human connection in music venues or in comedy theaters or in a small community theater like Verge that shut down. Like those spaces, I think I don't know, it's life-giving and it's so important to a community. And I would hate to see a community without that. So I don't want to, I guess maybe I don't want to reinvent it. I don't want to try to figure out like a workaround. Like, hey, we're going to be pandemic proof for the next 100 years because we got this model
We've got this
figured
Zoom
out.
model of
We've got
improv.
this Zoom model of improv figured out because it's just not the same. I mean, there's some really great things about it, and I have enjoyed a lot of stuff about it, but it doesn't replace that connection that you have when you see something with somebody, in the same theater space, when you hear music of this,
Yeah.
There's just you can't replace it.
What's it like being a parent? Right
Just
now?
in general?
You're like,
Or right now.
like what's
they're
it
starting a
like being a home?
homeschool, so.
Yeah, tell me about being a homeschooling parent.
Our school is called Cool School.
Cool school.
I love it.
I'm not sure everyone knows that it's called Cool School, but we call it Cool
They
Cool
do
School.
now.
The job that we never asked for. Like this fall, we're supposed to be, we were concerned of like, oh my goodness, how are we going to juggle opening our space with being with our kids enough and them not feeling like they're getting the short end of it. And now that's the whole
100%.
gig right now.
100%.
is-
Mom and Dad.
I mean, for me, there's part of it that I'm so grateful to be teaching my kids right now because we can't be doing this theater. It's it's just a point of focus. Like Molly has recently gotten a part-time job.
Yeah.
Right. And because I was going nuts over the summer, like just kind of pacing around, contemplating theater and comedy, and all I've done for so many years is teach, and then do I go back and do something I used to do? Should I get a job at a high-end clothing store? Because I used to run a high-end clothing
some
store.
corn.
Or husk
Do you
some
husk some
corn.
corn?
I was really spiraling out away from the things that I love and know. So teaching, having the focus of teaching our kids at home and having that be a reason that I have to get up every morning is the silver lining to teaching. Do I love it all the time? Is it fucking great? Absolutely not. Am I exhausted constantly and want to drink all the time? Yes. But I do have to get up in the morning. And so I set out my clothes in the morning. At night, I set them out. Because if I don't set them out, you guys, then I stand in my closet for way too long and try on way too many outfits.
Thinking about what clothes to homeschool in.
Right. What clothes should I homeschool in? So now I set them out at night and I don't think about it too much, and that's great. But that reason to get up is, for me, great. And I actually like teaching. I like teaching. So teaching kids is just a different version of teaching improv. And I'm trying to find the ways that I teach improv and how can I relate those things in what I'm teaching my kids. And do I have it down? Do I have a lot of tips? No, but I'm working on it.
It's a power suit day.
This is a power suit day. I'm going to wear a power suit tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
Good
Imagine
morning.
what the kids would do.
Time for morning circle.
They'd be like,
so
this
awkward.
is cool school.
This is
and
cool
you pull down
school.
your sunglasses.
I got my sunglasses. I've got just a hot pink
Hot
suit
power
on.
suit. Mhm.
Are you teaching your homeschool teaching?
No, I am not homeschool teaching my kids. They are, I guess some of the, we're doing the blended model with the school district, and some of the online stuff it's mostly just organization and making sure that the kids are getting all their stuff. But it's terribly overwhelming. It truly is.
I can't imagine being a student today with school shooting drills and a pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We really have liked the blended model. And something that she said to me, she's actually works for charter schools and an online charter school. But she said the skills that our kids are learning these days are actually some of the skills that they are going to need moving forward in this world that we didn't necessarily need when we were going to school, right? Which is the ability to communicate online, the ability to learn, gather information online, just all of those skills that they're actually learning. The silver lining that I keep trying to tell myself, right, is that they are also very resilient. The brain is developing and it's still moldable. And we look back at our experiences and think, I try this all the time, right? I shouldn't put my level of happiness or what I enjoyed doing in high school And then like I'm so devastated for them that they can't do all those things that I love so much. But my kids don't love doing the things that I did in high school.
What did you love doing in high school?
God.
Top 3 things.
Drinking, throwing up.
My number 2
Pulling
favorite
my
thing in high
friend's hair
school was
back while she's
vomiting.
throwing up.
Number 1, drinking. Number 2, vomiting. God, I love throwing
There is
up.
no number 3.
I mean,
Number 3 is
it's
repeat.
a package deal. It's a package deal. Yeah, I mean, it was.
Wait,
it
but
was
what were
parties.
your top 3 things?
Yeah, no, it was
In high
parties
school?
for sure. Parties.
Did you do a
and
lot of high school drinking?
I did.
Oh, wow.
What?
New news.
Mom?
New news. Mom loves to drink.
I lived in Pullman, which is located in
Where?
Eastern Washington.
Great. Where?
Is a college town. Tate almost went to school there. And so there were lots of college parties that we went to as like freshman and sophomore in high school. And
Did your parents know you were drinking?
probably not.
Oh, they
Busted. But
They're probably
no.
going to hear this.
Yeah,
They're
totally
absolutely
gonna
gonna hear
totally
this.
and they're gonna listen to the whole thing. But no, I was social as well, and my kids just kind of aren't. I mean, Darby plays soccer. My oldest plays soccer, and they've actually had a full season. They just finished their season yesterday, and they got to play every single game. So we feel really grateful for that. Obviously, that doesn't, my other kids are not really doing many activities outside of the house or school, but they don't want to either.
So I like to have improv make fun of our debates. The topic is called OK Boomer, and I've got a person from every generation on it. There's projected $68 trillion of wealth about to be transferred, making the millennials the wealthiest generation ever. So there's like this spitefulness of OK Boomer, like this out of touch person. What game should you play?
Fuck. Like what?
Like an improv game?
Yeah, like an improv game.
Have you ever played Hey Fred Schneider?
No, tell me.
It's just
It's a
very simple
warm-up game. I've almost never played it as Hey Fred Schneider. I've only really ever played it as Hey Single Father, what are you doing? So we all say, Hey Single Father, what are you doing? And then the next person says the thing that the single father would say, like, I'm overcooking mac and cheese while fantasizing about my stepdaughter. Hey, single father.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Oh my goodness.
So it'll be that, but OK
What?
Boomer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, boomer, what are you doing? And then we could say something that a boomer would say
Yeah.
in the Hey Fred Schneider
I'm
song.
ironing my polo while counting my dollars. I have no idea.
That's good.
Counting my dollars.
OK Boomer, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You gotta say it with the Fred Schneider.
That's right.
Okay, let's do it.
This is a horrible.
I
idea.
I want to play.
Why did I
Why? Way to go, Levin.
So
I
we
had
go,
it.
OK Boomer, what are you doing?
We could say, okay, boomer, what are you doing?
And we each do one?
Yeah, and so then you're like, I'm doing this one thing, and you give 2 examples of a stereotypical sort of boomer as you imagine them.
Okay.
My terrible example was that I pictured boomers ironing polo shirts.
That's a good one. All right, so let's do it again.
Okay.
Okay,
boomer, what are you doing? Okay, I'm deciding if I should shop at Black and White Market or Talbot's.
Okay, boomer, what are you doing?
And I'm starting a Twitter fight with my nephew.
Okay, Boomer,
what are you doing?
I'm waiting for my wife to finish making dinner.
Okay,
That's a good one, Ted.
That's a good one.
What are you doing?
I'm finally finishing my pilot's license. So I can take that trip to Myrtle Beach.
Okay,
boomer, what are you
doing? I'm again saying I'm not an alcoholic.
Okay, boomer,
What are you doing? I'm refinishing my will to leave my stupid wife out of it.
Okay, boomer, what are you doing?
I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Okay, boomer, what are you doing?
I'm getting remarried while getting the same haircut I've always had.
The future of Last Best Comedy and live performance art in general is a big question, with little in the way of answers at this point. with his whole adult life dependent on a vocation defined by people gathering and laughing together. Levin voices angry frustration with the politicization of safety guidelines. A whole industry of humans is sunk because we can't even handle this in an adult way, and that's crushing. And not even the biggest concern. While they may handle it with a refreshing levity, the partners share serious worries about family, mental health, and unforeseeable outcomes in pretty much every facet of existence. But if anyone can come out of this pandemic bantering and breathing life into the community, it's this talented trifecta and so many like them around the country. And maybe, in the end, laughter will prove to be the best medicine after all, and safety measures. An update since this episode was recorded, Last Best Comedy is finally opening their doors to their new comedy club in downtown Bozeman, Montana this September. If you have a chance to check it out, do it. A huge thank you to our supporters: Susan Karstensen, Zocalo Coffee House, Whistle Pig Korean, Last Best Comedy, Hatch, Loken Productions, Ben Johnson Photography, Superfluous Industries, and Blunderbuss. A shout out to our media team: Allison Gregory, Pat Loken, Ben Johnson, Jessica Byerly, Shannon Hughes, Nathaniel Johns, Bryant Stersala, and Dylan Weber. Hey, Tay Chamberlain here. Thanks for listening and supporting I Am Interchange. We build our projects to align with the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Do you have an issue that's riddled by gridlock in your community? Shoot me an email at tate@iaminterchange.org. That's tate@iaminterchange.org. Remember, share airtime and don't ruin dinner.